The International Monetary Fund was established in 1944 with the aim of promoting economic growth and stability. They've actually achieved a lot, except from the 2008 financial crisis, the 2000 dot-com collapse, and the other 22 recessions that have occurred since their formation. But we have experienced remarkable growth. Let us cut them some slack because it's the stock market's nature to go through boom and bust cycles. On the other hand, the IMF is actually quite frightened in facing recessions, and we know you are curious what's this about. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. This is Investing Path, and before we begin, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and bell button to see more of our future uploads as we move forward. But besides that, let's get started. Now, since 2008, the IMF as a whole has fared quite well. In 2021, the estimated value of the global economy will be over $95 trillion, up from $63 trillion in 2017. The GDP of the United States has increased from $14.7 trillion to $20.9 trillion. During the same time span, China managed to raise hundreds of millions of its citizens from poverty to the middle class. In terms of its economic performance, the International Monetary Fund had a solid 12 years, but that may be changing. Thus, they have sent numerous alarm bells about the global economy, inflation, future growth, and the war in their semi-annual World Economic Forecast. Now, we will briefly summarize the IMF's findings. At the commencement of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, the president of the International Monetary Fund cautioned that the global economy faced maybe its toughest test since the end of the World War II. IMF head Kristalina Georgieva claimed that Russia's invasion was causing widespread suffering, slowing economic development, and the increasing prices. We've seen it many times as inflation rates are skyrocketing over the globe. Since the IMF predicted 3.6 growth for 2022 in April, she noted, the horizon has darkened. Tightening financial circumstances were just one of the several knock-on effects of Russia's invasion. There wouldn't be any stable countries to help out and strengthen the countries that were struggling if the entire world went into a recession, which would make things very difficult for everyone. Georgia has an agreement that will help countries in debt hardship and modernize cross-border payments by lowering trade restrictions. Let us imagine certain countries enter a recession, as they expect, and this is why she wants to reduce trade barriers. During a recession, the entire economy suffers, but some sectors are struck far worse than others. Within the context of the pandemic, for instance, she found that travel was particularly hazardous. Certain nations' economies are driven mostly by agriculture or another specific industry. They frequently require international assistance to rebuild the afflicted region. Low trade barriers allow for easy outsourcing and importation of these services from outside. High trade barriers leave you on your own. We agree with the IMF director that lowering trade barriers will help in the current economic climate. Furthermore, she argued that government shouldn't give in to the forces of geo-economic fragmentation, which she argued will leave the world poorer and more unstable. She conceded that they had not found a quick fix. Although the term geo-economic fragmentation may sound unfamiliar, she is actually referring to the increased barriers between countries' economies. They become petty, making it more difficult to do business rather than easier. The globe has changed significantly during the past 3 decades. In the process, it has increased the size of its global economy and helped millions of people escape poverty. She sees a rise in what she calls fragmentation over the past years. The IMF reports that since the conflict in Ukraine began, about 30 nations have imposed tariffs on food, energy, and other essential goods traded between their countries. According to studies conducted by the International Monetary Fund, this has contributed to a fall in the world GDP. Falling GDP has repercussions for everyone. This is why we agree completely with the IMF Managing Director's proposal for less fragmentation, less taxes, and greater cooperation. Given the current state of many economies, this is of paramount importance. Will these plans actually be put into action? how much weight is given to the IMF's recommendations by governments. The IMF then went on to say that because of these circumstances, while conceding that in nations most affected by the war in Ukraine, the IMF argued that tighter monetary policy will be appropriate to halt the cycle of higher prices driving up wages and inflation expectations, and higher prices pushing up wages and inflation expectations. Inflation control and growth protection will be more difficult trade-offs. So, what exactly do you mean when they talk about a trade-off between preserving growth and limiting inflation? How come we have to make a compromise here? Why can't we have both brisk economic expansion and moderate price increases? First of all, when the IMF refers to a reserve bank, it means either the Federal Reserve or a country's central bank. The direction of our monetary policy is set by the central bank. They have the option of either a lax, expansionary monetary policy or a strict, contractionary one. When interest rates are kept artificially low, the economy is considered to be loose. They strive to increase GDP by printing more money. The goal of a restrictive monetary policy is to slow the economy by reducing the availability of funds and raising interest rates. You could be wondering why they don't just maintain a constant expansionary monetary policy and keep everything rising. Yet, inflation is a major issue with this. Take the year 2020 as an example. The Federal Reserve's monetary policy was extremely easy and expansionary that year. The interest rates were practically nothing. They issued trillions in new currency. As a matter of fact, in 2020, the whole supply of US dollars was created in just 1 year. The results of this are: what are the consequences of a massive expansion of the money supply? The IMF is correct in pointing out that there is a trade-off between growth and inflation. Permissive monetary policy helped the economy expand, but the price was high inflation. Obviously, you want the economy to grow. Yet, high inflation is not what you are going for. While it is true that lowering inflation through stricter monetary policy is a priority, doing so without triggering a recession is a delicate balancing act. At the very moment when it seemed the global economy might finally begin to recover from the pandemic-induced collapse, the battle has made it likely that a lot of the progress that has been made recently will be lost. So, the epidemic has made the last couple of years particularly challenging from a purely economic standpoint. Stocks have soared like crazy, yet the economy is in awful shape. When we opened up companies and bars, as travel was once again made possible, and as everyone began to believe that economy was beginning to look good again, GDP growth fell into the negatives for the first time since the great financial crisis. The International Monetary Fund has warned that the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine is having a negative impact on the world economy, a claim that is widely accepted by everyone who keeps tabs on the financial markets. Every conflict has a significant impact, but ones including Russia, a massive country, are extremely devastating. If you didn't know, it has a significant impact on the Russian economy and the global economy as a whole. They rank in the top 5 for steel, nickel, and aluminum production, and they are the third largest oil producer and second largest natural gas producer in the world. Moreover, it accounts for nearly 20% of worldwide wheat commerce as the top wheat exporter. Ukraine, on the flip side, their size is impressive as well. They ranked 6th in corn production, 7th in wheat production, 1st in sunflower production, and 9th in production of barley and soya. As a result, right now, both countries are putting most of their efforts toward battling each other rather than contributing to global economic growth and creating money, especially Russia. It is almost as if they've been cut off from the global economy entirely. Indeed, this has far-reaching consequences for global economic expansion. And then, in some strange ways, it affects the economies of other countries. Okay, we guess that clears up what's going on in the world economy from the IMF's perspective and what you guys should do about it. We don't know how the economy is going to be over the next couple of years. Therefore, it is crucial that you have your own personal financial condition anchored, secure, and rock solid. Lately, the most recent instance of this is in Sri Lanka. This means that your company may soon begin laying off workers, the value of your shares may drop, and your compensation may be cut. So, it is essential that we be well equipped. How diversified are we? Can we confidently say that our firms are thriving? Do we have a secondary source of funding? Even though we have had a roaring bull market over the past few years, we believe these sorts of questions will become increasingly pressing in the years to come. But if you have any contradicting opinions about our conclusions so far, then let us know what you think in the comment section below, and we gladly join in the discussion. This is Investing Path. We thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this one, then go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe button, and might as well click the bell button to see more of our personal financing and investment uploads for you. Thanks again, and we'll see you in our next video.